Lychee Thieves is a 30-minute short that we shot in Hawaii, and it went through a lot of changes, particularly in the post-production phase. In other words, we cut about 5 or 6 scenes. And in light of this exhibition's focus on both local filmmaking and the art and practice or process of filmmaking, I thought it would be really interesting to talk about the evolution of the film during the editing process. In a nutshell, the film is about 4 local characters who fight over an abundantly ripe lychee tree that's in one couple's backyard, and it's hanging over the fence into their neighbor's yard. And then there's another character who comes by and offers to pick the fruit if he can keep some of it.
I'm gonna come back when I fix my pickup. I'm gonna give you half for what I pick, okay?
Characters get greedy and a bit contentious, and one thing leads to another. For me, the lychee represented the preciousness that is Hawaii. And there have been, so many people fighting over this land, and usually the land loses.
No! What's in my yard is mine.
My story is a reflection of that. It's a little parable about what happens when, people lose sight of their sense of community, and greed wins out over a sense of generosity and a sense of respect for the land. So I originally wrote this opening montage that had this wind coming in from off the ocean and hitting the island of Oahu and sort of carrying us through these different parts of the island until we arrive in the suburbs, in the backyard of the main character's house, where we find this ripe lychee tree. And so this wind coming off of the ocean is sort of breathing this life into this setting and into this tree and all this stuff. And it's written that way. It's written very poetically. It's another thing shooting it, though, and we did our best, and I think we did a great job. But with a short, I felt that we needed to get right to the problem faster. Every single thing I cut in this movie was painful to do because everyone had worked so hard and worked so well on executing what was written on the page. But it became a different thing in the editing room where we had to look at the, as our priorities, the pacing, if the story was really flowing, and if the conflict was really established. What we did instead was a shorter version of the montage that educated audiences a little bit who may not know much about the lychee season in Hawaii, and it shows a farm, and it even has a title about how much people on the island do go a little crazy over lychee. I wrote the Malia character, who's his sister, as a way to show how he sort of doesn't fit in, even at home. She's got the job, working at the hospital. She's responsible. She's kind of fed up with his lack of focus. And so we had this beautiful scene between the two of them, Pomai and Raitea.
Are you calling about that job or what?
How many times I want to tell you? I'm taking a break from construction.
Hey, you think I like working? What makes you so special you don't need, huh?
It won't kill my back. You remember what the doctor said? Anyways, I only just got back on the waves.
What?
You kind of see how there's a conflict there, but you also see how there's love and affection between the brother and sister that, I wanted to plant there as an example of how life and love can exist even in a complicated situation.
Get some attitude, that girl.
Yeah. Let's go. Find them. Go back to your lychee picking. See if I care.
Unfortunately, though, the placement of the scene, again, in a short film where things really, I want them to be as complex as possible and detailed as possible, but if we kind of lose the plot or the narrative thrust at any point, with a short film especially, you run the risk of sort of letting the story drop. So I cut that scene, and it was one of the most painful things I've ever done in my life, one of the most painful cuts I've ever made. But what then occurred was that we found ourselves with only Keoki, and he's perceived now as kind of being alone in the world, and we don't see a family life. And this actually added another dimension to his character that was interesting, and that tended to resonate more than if we had kept that scene in. When I wrote the film, I wanted to show that these characters, Arnie and Ethel, because of their greed, wind up losing everything, even the lychee. They don't even get to keep their lychee. So I wrote in this accident that happens while the tree is getting harvested, where a saw falls on one of the guys who's hired to pick the tree, and it cuts him, you know, on the forearm.
What the hell? Hey, you! You interfere again and you're out of here, you understand? You okay, Larry?
And because of this, the foreman threatens to file a lawsuit against Arnie and Ethel for nearly killing his worker. But what he's really doing is he's trying to get the lychee for himself. So I was kind of bringing in a fifth character who sees an opportunity, wants the lychee, and tries to steal it.
I'm doing you a favor here. Larry's gonna feel a lot better knowing he gets this lychee.
So we have another lychee thief on the scene.
Larry, let's get these branches out of here. Let's go.
This proved to be, as you can probably imagine, a little too convoluted to sustain itself. So I had to, actually this was a hard cut to make. It was easy in the sense that, boy, the action moved a lot better. We really stayed with the main character of Keoki more without this side event. But I thought I lost the moral of the story of Arnie and Ethel losing even the lychee. But when I made the cut, and this is why editing is so fascinating, because you never really know how you feel about it until you try it and then you watch it, I realized that even that was not really missed, because there's a point too where you don't want to be too moralizing. We see Keoki after being chased and running his car into a ditch. He's very angry, and he goes and he falls asleep under a tree on the beach. And the next morning, he wakes up and calls his friend to tow his car out of the ditch. Why did I cut it? Again, it's all about the flow and the pacing. So watching Keoki wake up and call and then get his car towed, you have to ask yourself in that place, well, what really happened? And what was the scene about?
You're on cell phone.
Yeah. It's right here. Just gotta press that and you're good to go.
And when it's not about it's not really playing what you hoped it would play,
Yeah.
you have to just listen to what it is playing.
Hey, you come pick me up.
And what it was playing for me was, you know,
That way we
the most important thing is really seeing him getting the car towed and then finding the lychee.
Mahalo.
You're welcome.
Since we are weaving 3 different stories, even 4, you can't, again, linger and get caught up in exits and entrances. You want to get right to the next part of the story. So we went straight from Ethel at work, straight from there to Chinatown, to him getting his car towed and then walking into the mountains. It was important always to stay with Keoki and keep coming back to him, because he, the Hawaiian character of the film, he is the hero in the end, who's the only one who does the right thing. those were the changes we made. It went from a 58-minute cut to a 32-minute cut, and then we recut it after the Hawaii International Film Festival to the current 29-minute version. And I think that, you know, some people may disagree with my choices, but they were made according to, at least what I thought, was the right pacing and the right level of authenticity for the story. So thank you for visiting the exhibition and watching Lychee Thieves. Mahalo.